Grab the duct tape and mentally prepare yourself for yet another mind-expanding knowledge bomb from America's #1 business coach, Clay Clark.
That's it. Bombs away.
Yes, Thrive Nation, it is a very special occasion because Aaron Praying Antis, that's P-R-A-Y-I-N-G. Aaron Praying Antis is with us here, right here inside the Box That Rocks here at the Thrive Time Show home offices off the left coast of the Arkansas River. He is the man who manages the sales force at Shaw Homes. Aaron Antis, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
Oh, man, I am so pumped to be here. Thank you, Clay.
Hey, tell the listeners out there about the growth of Shaw Homes. It is just, there's so many great things going on at Shaw Homes right now, and I want the listeners who hear consistently about shawhomes.com, I want them to know about the success because we need some good news.
Yeah, well, in the middle of the shutdown of coronavirus this year, last year, 2019, we had a record-breaking year. And, we thought, well, coming into the coronavirus year in 2020, it would be an interesting test of how well our systems were built and our processes were working. But lo and behold, we are actually, as of the end of June, we had already passed up the entirety of our sales in the entire year of 2019. So at the halfway point, we are on pace to more than double what we did last year. And we're going to end up probably somewhere in the 140, 150 million price range this year as far as total sales.
And you make a certain percentage of that money, and you use that money for good, which is why we like to help you grow your business. But I want to talk on today's show. I want to talk about today. It's a normal day in the life of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
The good news with a side of bad news. Good news, but with a little side, because that's what it is.
True.
So let's get into it. I want to talk about the good and the bad. We'll go back and forth because some people say, Clay, I'm going to be happy once all the problems stop. And I'm telling you this, if you want more promotion, you want more profits, that equals problems. Promotion equals problems.
Yes.
So let's talk about the good and the bad. So the good is you're having a record sales year.
Oh, yeah.
Record sales year. Now, I'm going to talk about the bad, and I'm not talking about Shaw Homes. I'm talking about me. I'm not going to talk about you. I'm saying every time I've had a record sales year, I've also had a record amount of knuckleheads that won't follow systems. Now, not you. Shaw Homes, everybody follows the systems. Me, I'm just saying for me, when I have a record sales, there's record numbers of people trying to do a mutiny. So
True.
What is, and again, we're not talking about Shaw Homes people. We're talking about me and my people. And I have great people. And I'm not even talking about my current people. I'm talking about people that used to work with me back in the day.
Yeah.
Because we never have these problems now. No, but why is it so hard for some people to follow systems? Just basic systems where you say, these are the directions needed to make the cookies. You get the cookies, you got to add the eggs, you add the flour, you add the sugar, you add the butter, you add the chocolate chips, you stir it around, you do it, boom, it makes great cookies. Some people say, okay, so if you're telling me I need eggs, I'm going to skip that part because I want to just see what happens.
Yeah.
There's just certain people that won't follow the recipe for success. What in your mind makes some people not want to follow the system?
Well, that's a great question, Clay. And actually, a wise man once told me that for every $1 million a year in business that you do, you're going to have one major headache. So if you do 10 million, you're going to have 10 huge headaches.
True.
Well, on the way to 140 million, 150 million, I'm going to have some headaches along the way. So, I would say that, we live in this world where there's a lot of distractions and the smartphone making us dumb. And so, you're sitting there in a staff meeting and you've got a whole bunch of people who are supposed to be listening to very important instructions about what to do for the parade of homes this week. I literally have someone who I told the whole team, do not schedule a customer appointment during the open hours for our parade of homes this week. Because we're open from 1 to 7, there's hundreds and hundreds of people walking through our homes. You need to be focused on the people who are in front of you. And so one of my salespeople on Saturday afternoon at the busiest time of the day while we're open decided to schedule an appointment. Exactly what I told her not to do, she scheduled to have happen at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm observing this on our cameras in the model home. And I texted the salesperson. I said, "Why are you having a meeting during the middle of the parade? I specifically talked about this for like 10 minutes not to do this." And she says, "You never brought that up. I never heard that."
So what happens is when people don't follow the systems, they have three excuses they do. There's three moves.
Yeah.
One is simply I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I was not aware.
Yeah.
I did not know. That's one.
Yep.
The second one is they'll admit they knew but they forgot.
Yep.
So it's like I do recall now, but I forgot. And then the third is just the emotional of I couldn't do it because my kid went to the hospital, because I was sick, I have anxiety,
Yep.
I have some type of mental problem, I have the cold, my friend's cousin has COVID, I worry about COVID.
Yep.
So how do you deal with how did you deal with this?
Well, I actually went to the video camera that's in the meeting room in our conference room, and I pulled the video of her actually asking a clarifying question about how she was not supposed to have a meeting during that time. And then after me explaining her question, she goes, "Oh, I understand. Thank you." And so I sent her the clip of that video with me saying, "Do not have a meeting during these hours."
Right.
And her asking for clarification and me answering, and sent it to her and said, "Explain to me again how you didn't know that we weren't supposed to do that." And she went, "Oh, yeah, now I remember."
Now I remember.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
So I guess the 15 customers that just walked through my model home that I didn't even say hi to, I'll go ahead and go pay attention to those people instead
Nice.
of my client that's here to pick out some colors.
So what you have is when you have record sales, you are going to have record issues. It's going to happen.
True.
I'm saying this to the listeners because I care about you guys, and I want you to know on this edition of the Thrive Time Show what it looks like to be a successful person on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Now let's do another example. Record when you're good news with a little side of bad news. What does it look like to be successful? Have you noticed that our conferences, Aaron? You've been seeing the conferences, and they grow, and we have great people there.
Awesome people.
And so the great thing about having a great conference with a lot of people is you're helping a lot of people. I
Yeah.
mean, when you have 100 people at the conference who are all entrepreneurs and they're taking notes and they're implementing, it is so cool when you have 100 people.
Yes.
Turns out you have 100 times more people than if you had a conference with one person.
True.
Hey, you have 100
good
people.
math.
Think about this. With 100 people at the conference, that's 100 times more people than with having a conference with one person.
That actually, I just checked the math. That works out, actually.
But the problem with 100 people, what do you think when you have 100 people? Because we have some really great people that come to our conference. When you have 100, do you think 100% of the people are going to be good people?
No.
And I would argue we have about 2% of the people that are not good people.
I would agree at least 2%, yes.
And so then on the Thursday before the conference, have to pull aside an actual adult and tell them they're not welcome at the conference.
Oh, wah, wah, wah.
And it never goes well.
I'm sure they are really excited when you tell them that.
May I share one example of why someone wasn't a good fit?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Guy comes into the conference. He wants to come to the conference. He comes in Thursday. And he looks like he's a person who's seriously addicted to some drugs.
Ooh.
And he starts to tell me about his plan is he wants to pitch people here. He's looking for investors in his project. And the more I talk to him and the more I hear about him, and I'm not trying to judge. I'm just trying to gather information. It occurs to me he is a scammer. Have you ever met a good scammer?
Oh, yeah, several.
And they're always pitching you on, and you do real estate, and real estate
Yeah.
is littered with scammers.
Oh, yeah, we got a bunch of them.
No money down, get rich quick. And I guess he has a real estate seminar. He's trying to come to our conference to get people to his conference.
Oh, that's the move, huh?
But the only way to avoid having that kind of a conflict is to only have one person at the conference and do one-on-one conferences, right?
Right.
And the only way to avoid having conflict with your sales team is to not do a lot of sales.
Yeah, exactly.
So if the idea is we're trying to move to an adversity-free place, it's not going to happen.
This is true.
It
And also, Clay, just to throw one other thing in there, there's the things out of your control. Let me just tell you two things that happened this week completely outside of our control. I have a customer who calls us and says, hey, The home next door to us that's under construction right now, that's just framed.
Yep.
A bolt of lightning just hit it, and the lumber exploded inside of the house.
Are you being serious?
I'm serious. And the same day, actually, we had at our group interview, we had someone who pretty much died. You saw it, Clay.
Oh, yeah.
At the group interview.
You heard about this.
Yes, of course I heard about it.
Can I share the story?
Yeah, please.
I haven't heard this yet.
You really haven't?
No.
Okay, so it was
Oh,
Thursday
hi,
night.
I'm Steve. Welcome to the show.
It was Thursday night, SteveCurrington.com. It was Thursday night, by the way, folks, if you're just now tuning in. Steve Currington runs SteveCurrington.com. He's a mortgage lender. The name of his company is Guaranteed Rate. And if you're looking for a mortgage anywhere in these great United States, Steve Currington can help you. He does help out our listeners.
And he does a great job.
And he does a great job.
And I was actually on the phone with one of your salespeople, Aaron.
Awesome.
So
here-
two of them, actually.
So here's the situation. Thursday night, and again, I'm trying to make sure we're getting this idea. What does it look like a normal day in the life of a successful entrepreneur? What does that look like? Well, it looks like good news with a side of bad news. It's always how it is.
Exploding
So
lumber.
We do the group
and dead
interview,
people.
and at the group interview, a guy shows up, and he acts like he's on Quaaludes. Now, Steve, will you explain to the listeners what Quaaludes are?
Well, there's the lemon ones.
Please explain what that
that
is.
are from. I don't really know what a Quaalude is. I just know from the Wolf of Wall Street, he takes all those Quaaludes and he has like the process that he goes through of like where he went straight to, he called it cerebral palsy stage.
I will read it to you.
where it's
A
like-
Quaalude is it's spelled Quaaludes. And when you are taking a Quaalude, I'm just reading here the history of Quaaludes. They were created in India in the 1950s. But essentially, when people take these drugs, it causes people to almost go into a state where they can't. It locks up their face. They can't talk, but they think they're talking.
Oh, wow.
So they sound like this, but they think they're talking normal. And
Wow.
they see things, and they usually just pass out. I mean, it's like a fainting goat. It's bad.
Oh, wow.
You remember on Wolf of Wall Street, he in his mind, he drove home perfectly. When he woke up the next day, he's like, I don't know how I made it home so good. And then it cuts to the scene where it shows him crashing the Lamborghini all the way home and like crawling out of it and like literally
Right.
dragging his body up the stairs to get into the house.
So this guy that died at our interview probably thought the interview went really well. Is
Right.
what you're saying.
Well, first off, when you get to the interview, we have you sign in.
Yeah.
And so I do this for a lot of reasons because if your penmanship is poor, you're also probably not detail oriented. You probably wouldn't be a good fit at Shaw Homes because when you're selling houses, you have to have handwriting that you
Details.
can actually read.
Yeah.
So this guy, he signs it like, I know the listeners can't see this, but he signs it like a cat would sign something,
Yeah.
where it's just like not
Oh,
in
yeah.
the lines, not. I mean, it's crazy.
My cat's actually got a
At
pretty
no
good
point,
signature.
it looks like you attached a pin to a paw of a cat. It's like he had no. At no point was there any letters. It's just.
Wow.
And then he sits there, a couple rows back, and he's looking at me like the scene where Adam Sandler's trying to chase the penguin from Billy Madison, where he's
yeah.
so hammered he
Yeah.
thinks there's a penguin. Whenever Adam Sandler got drunk,
yeah.
he would. Whenever Billy Madison gets drunk in the movie, he thinks there's a penguin and he tries to chase it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's looking at me like, okay, but it's like it's moving, like, and he's just trying to find some. And then all of a sudden, I'm doing. Well, folks, my name's Clay Clark. I'll be doing the interview tonight. I'll be opening it up for you to ask me any questions about working with Shaw Homes or working with me up here at Make Your Life Epic or Elephant in the Room, and any questions you have, I'll be happy to answer them. And all of a sudden, nah, that's the sound. And
What?
I go, what? I mean, seriously, it was like, because normally when you hear someone go, you don't normally hear that. So when you normally hear it, so when you hear it, you're like, what was that? So I look at him into his face, again, and then boom, out on the ground. And just like completely turns white, going blue. So I don't know exactly how I reacted because I can't recall it all, but I know immediately my thought was, does anyone here know?
We got to drag this guy out the back door.
Does anybody here know CPR?
That's what he was thinking.
That's why I said.
Wow. Was this right after you mentioned what we pay? Hopefully that wasn't part of this at all.
No,
that,
it
that
wasn't
was the thing. He
triggered
was
by
like, I
anything?
can't believe how much that
And you
is.
can make well over $100,000 a year at Shaw Homes. Boom. No, but anyway, so I look and I said, does anybody know CPR? And before I could even finish saying the question, a lady goes, I know CPR. So she's doing the resuscitation thing, breathing in the mouth, pumping the chest. And this goes on for at least, it felt like
I think
forever.
we're going to hire her, by the way.
Are you?
So, yeah, well, I mean, to be around at our meetings in case anybody ever dies during
When
one
we
of
get
our
off,
staff
when
meetings.
we get off, let me give you her number.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
seriously, she rushed into action.
I heard
and
she was amazing.
Really was.
yeah.
And while she's doing that, I had one guy call 911, and then I'm calling 911 too because I just want to make sure we get a hold of these people.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at my watch, and it was at least at this point 3 minutes in, and she's still pumping, and he's white.
But we didn't defund the police and the paramedics, right? So they answered.
Well, I got a hold of the police. This is true.
Okay.
I get a hold of the police. If you're out there and you want to defund the police, stop listening to this show. If you want to defund the police, get off the show. You're stupid.
Yeah.
But the point is, so we get on the phone with 911. I call them. I give them the address, and apparently they think I said we're at Los Cabos. So the fire, the ambulance, these great people are hustling, and you can. And it was at this point we're 5 minutes after this happened. I can hear them.
Yeah.
You can hear the alarms getting closer.
This gentleman has stepped out of his body and is hovering over himself, looking down at himself at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, because I'm going back and forth. I'm trying to have Ben and I are trying to wave down the cops in the ambulance. I'm trying to tell them, hey, we're further down north. Get north. Quit going to the Los Cabos. Get over here. And these people are hustling and they're urgent. They're this is what they do. They're professionals. The fire department, the police, they're great. Anyway, I then come back inside and he's still. Now we're like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
she's
he's
pumping.
literally no pulse for like 5 minutes.
Totally
right?
white.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, whew, and he just like spits up whatever is going on, and he's back. He's back with us.
That would
She
be my
literally
fear.
saved his life.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. And that was on the same day that our house got hit by lightning and the lumber literally exploded. And the customer in the house next door who was living in the house actually got injured by the explosion.
So what I'm saying to you is if you are out there and you want to have a successful business, do you? I mean, a normal day in the life of a successful entrepreneur.
I always tell people this, Clay. By
is filled
9
with
a.m.,
adversity.
by 9 a.m.
Yeah.
most days, I have a major problem that I have to deal with.
I mean,
By
today-
9, if I make it to 10,
correct.
and the
That's true.
proverbial
Yeah.
beep hasn't hit the fan,
Yeah.
then it's a good day.
I mean, today we interviewed Charlene Bollinger yesterday, and she's good friends with Marla Maples and Judy Mikovits, the doctor who's exposing the Dr. Fauci. And so
Plandemic.
she's helping us. Yeah. So she's the star of the movie Plandemic, Dr. Judy Mikovits. Anyway, Charlene is trying to get her on our show, which is cool. She's trying to get Marla Maples on our show, which is cool. Senator Scott Jensen agreed to be on our show, which is cool. We're getting the lady who's running around painting on top of the Black Lives Matters murals. She's an African-American
John
lady.
told me about this, and her profile pic is her in handcuffs.
Yeah. And
Unreal.
she calls her movement Jesus Matters because as a black woman, she's a smart black woman, and she's realized that George Soros, who's a Nazi, is funding Black Lives Matters.
Right.
So anyway, but we got her booked on the show. We had Ben Carson on the show the other day. We're getting a huge momentum, but at the same time, we got a guy who dies at the group interview. We got lumber exploding.
Yeah.
We got people that won't follow systems. At the same time, we just hired two incredible members of the team. Two great ladies just joined the team. But you got to be able to handle that. So as we wrap up today's show, I'm going to ask you the question, Steve. I want to get a 30-second take from you, and the same thing from you, Aaron. How do you emotionally process having both great things and bad things simultaneously? Steve.
I celebrate the crap out of wins when they happen, because you have to get energy from the positive things that happen in your day, so that you can make it through the valleys. And then my secret is I just get up faster. You know, I think some people dwell on it. They dwell on those problems and those issues that they ran into.
True.
And we have a philosophy of that you point to the mess on the floor, you clean it up, and you move on. And if you aren't a person that can move on past that, then it's going to be very difficult for you to run a business successfully, because you can't carry that around all day,
And
because
people
it'll kill
say,
you.
well, the way I'm built, I just takes me longer to process. Let me explain this to you. If we all served in the military and we were someone who liked to lament, and we, unfortunately, think about this, in a war scenario, and the guy next to you gets killed and you're a lamenter, you're dead.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, the people who fought in World War II, they all tell stories about how you don't process, you move on.
Yep.
So what I do whenever something bad happens, I maybe shouldn't say this. I'm not sure the biblical justification for it, but I will typically, while driving, I'll say, Jesus, I did my best. No, you do the rest, because I can't even process this. So when my dad passed away, I tried to process why a good person would die of Lou Gehrig's disease. And by the way, Bill Scheer just did a great sermon about why good things happen to, or bad things happen to good people. But the point is, I'm maybe not that deep. I just know that we serve a good God, and he has a plan. That's my worldview. But I didn't really ever process. I still have not really processed the emotions of my dad's death, nor will I choose to, because it's just too painful for me to think about how he died.
Well, and
But I know God's a good God and has a plan, but I'm not going to dwell on it.
Well, I think that you said people that want to lament in business,
Yeah.
because it takes them longer to process it.
Yep.
It's actually making it faster for them to go out of business.
Yeah.
So you're taking longer to process, and you're going quicker to bankruptcy.
That's
So
why.
keep that in mind.
I want to say the guy's name, but I can't. But there's a guy who listens to our show who has literally increased his sales volume by 4 times during COVID-19. And it's like, what's your secret? He's making 4 times more calls because it's 4 times more challenging of an economy than it was before COVID.
Right.
So it's just like, well, since there's more shutdowns, since there's more lockdowns and shutdowns, I'm going to work harder. And it turns out a lot of his competition isn't working at all.
Yeah.
So where he's doing 4 times the revenue he used to do per month now.
Right.
As a result of just working harder amidst the government-mandated shutdown and all the jackassery promoted by Dr. Fauci. Aaron, what's your final pro tip? The normal day in the life of a successful entrepreneur, when you're having a record sales year at Shaw Homes, but when you got knuckleheads that won't follow systems, you have exploding lumber, people at the group interview dying, what's your pro tip?
So I just go back to the book that has the instructions in it and how to deal with problems.
What book are
Proverbs?
you speaking of?
It is actually called the Biblio. It is
Are you talking about the Bible?
The Bible?
Are you going to
Can you-
Proverbs or
can you
something?
talk
No,
about
this
the
is
Bible?
actually 2 Corinthians.
I don't know you can talk about the Bible.
Hold on. No, it's Jesus he's talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but I mean, I think as a society, are we allowed to look at the book?
No, I don't.
yeah.
I don't look at it personally. I
there
try
a
to close
fine?
my eyes and listen.
Oh, I just want to make sure, because you're saying some controversial crap over there. You're saying go to
Yeah.
the Bible. Okay, back to
Yeah,
you.
I mean, I know in a lot of cities across the country, we currently have a muzzle mandate. Oh, I mean, a mask mandate to muzzle Christian. I mean,
soon.
to just, anyways. But
Oh, Steve.
Sticking to
2
facts.
Corinthians 2:14 says, "Now thanks be unto God who always leads us in triumph in Christ."
Read it again.
Yeah. So, oh, this is good. I like the
Read it again. I want to
music.
marinate. Read it again.
Now, thanks be unto God who always leads us in triumph in Christ.
Read it again.
Oh, now thanks be unto God who always leads us in triumph in Christ. So, key words there being always and leads and triumph. So, it depends on who's leading you, and you are always going to triumph. Always meaning every single time. So, when stuff like this happens, I look at bad situations as opportunities for good things to happen. So if I look at it come from that worldview of I am always going to triumph, then when a house, the lumber explodes and somebody next door gets injured, I look at it as an opportunity to help the person who's next door.
Hey, Kelly,
So-
we have some barbecue out there for you.
Harney sign.
I want to make sure the listeners get this, though. And Kelly, I'm so sorry I'm multitasking, but we have some barbecue for Kelly. Kelly is now satiated. We go back to the conversation. I want to make sure we get this. This is a song, and I want this song that you just said, or the song that I'm going to play, is the verse you just said. So
Nice.
please say the verse one more time, and then I'm going to play the song.
Yeah, it's 2 Corinthians 2:14.
Yep.
And it says, "Now thanks be unto God who always leads us in triumph in Christ."
So now I'm going to play the song. This is Kanye West, Sunday Service. The song, it was performed live in Paris, France, 4 months ago, and I think everyone needs to hear it. So I'm going to play it. Here we go. Let me get queued up here. I'm going to crank it up. I'm going to turn my mic down. Here we go. What's that verse again?
2 Corinthians 2:14. Now
Read it, read-
thanks
read-
be unto God who
Yep.
always leads us in triumph in Christ.
One more time. Read it again.
Yeah, 2 Corinthians 2:14. Now thanks be unto God who always leads us in triumph in Christ.
Listen to the lyrics of this song there, Thrive Nation.
You're going to start ranking on Google for 2 Corinthians 2:14.
Here we go. Listen to this, folks. Here we go. But really listen. I mean, take notes. And once you get the melody, feel free to sing along. I promise I'll stop talking. I just want to make sure you get it. Like, actually wake up, experience it.
Wake up, people. Wake up.
If you're in your car, you might want to use steer with the wheels. Got to get that two-hand clap going, or you might want to tap on the steering wheel. What was that verse one more time?
2 Corinthians 2:14. It says, now thanks be unto God who always leads us in triumph in Christ.
Cut to Kanye. Look how happy he is. Awesome. Drugs. He absolutely feels eternal love. It's a different conversation with Kanye West. What was that verse one more time, Aaron?
2 Corinthians 2:14, it says, "Now thanks be unto God who always leads us in triumph in Christ." I think some people need to get a little sign, put it on their monitor on their computer or
Amen.
somewhere
Yeah.
that they'll see it, either with that verse or just the word always. Every time.
Great word. We're going to end this show with a boom. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom. Kelly, there's barbecue. Did you get some barbecue, Kelly? We got some barbecue for you. Now, folks, this next thing that happened was not scripted at all. As we're talking about how to deal with the good and bad things that happen in life, Kelly then proceeds to tell me this crazy story about what happened to him on Tuesday. And I had the guys film it because it was too epic. It was too good. And I thought I would share this story that's very funny, but at Kelly's expense. Kelly is the owner of American Document Shredding. He's a great guy, longtime client, and I think you'll feel a little bit better about how your day's going after you hear this story.
Kelly, he's a functional adult who runs a shredding company. Please tell the story.
So we got a new donkey this last weekend.
So he starts off the story.
A new donkey?
Yeah, so
So this is you already have a donkey.
we already have two donkeys.
Two donkeys.
We got-
Of course he does. Listen, he starts off the conversation. This way he says, he goes, "Clay, I got this new donkey, and this guy's being an ass." And then he says it, and I don't think he recognized the humor there, but keep going.
So I'm trying to get it pinned up to not
Pin
run.
the tail on the donkey.
He says, "I got a new donkey," and it was being kind of an ass. And he didn't try to be funny. Okay, keep going.
So I build the pin, and I'm all excited. I get it open, and I can't get him to go in. So like the next day, I put food in there. I wake up, go out, it's like sun's coming up, and he's in the pan eating. And I was like, sweet Jesus, this is my chance to get him in. So I get to the gate to get in the field, and I'm like, I can't open it because it squeaks real loud. So I was like gonna climb over it. So I get right on top of it. This right foot slips off the gate. My other foot gets stuck, and I go straight down. And when I'm falling, I'm like, oh gosh, this is gonna hurt. So I go to reach up, but whenever I go down, my hand gets in poop. So, and I'm going fast, and I hit myself.
He punches himself in the face with a hand of poop. So his donkey is being his new donkey, and I quote. Let me summarize. His new donkey is being an ass. So he falls, and while trying to not fall, he punches himself in the face with poop.
It was a great morning.
I feel so much better by comparison, knowing that's how you started. What?
It was Tuesday morning.
He's living the book of Job.
We have a lot of. We're at 9. We're getting more, and we have a lot of coyotes, so they help coyotes.
And that's why you have a shredding company.